This is lesson 5.3. In this video, you will learn how to solve polynomial equations by factoring, and along the way, you will also review adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. So to solve a polynomial equation, you follow these three steps. First, you write the equation in standard form. Then you factor the polynomial. And finally, use the zero product property to find the roots or solutions. So it's very similar to solving a quadratic. So following our steps here, we'll do example A. So first thing we'll do is put this in standard form. So I'll subtract the 3x on both sides. So we now have 2x cubed minus 5x squared minus 3x equals 0. And then factoring this, we're going to want to take out a GCF first. So the only thing that all three terms have in common is x, so we'll factor that out, leaving us with 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. And now this trinomial is a quadratic, so we can factor that like we did in the last chapter. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and the b value is negative 5. Two numbers that multiply to make 6 and add to make 5 would be negative 6 and positive 1. And then we have to divide by 2 because we had that leading coefficient. This left one reduces to negative 3. Right one does not reduce. So our factors would be x minus 3 and 2x plus 1. And that equals 0. So now using the zero product property, we take each factor and set it equal to 0. And solve each of these linear equations. So the first one's already solved, x equals 0. Second one, we add 3 and we get x equals 3. Third one, we will subtract 1 and divide by 2, so we get negative 1/2. So those are our three solutions to this equation. In this example, the equation is already factored, so we can use the zero product property and set each factor equal to 0, and then solve these quadratic equations. So we would add 1 to each side, giving us x squared equals 1, and then take the square root on each side. And remember, when you take a square root, you get two answers, so we have positive and negative 1. And then on our second example, when we subtract 4, we get a negative 4. Taking the square root on each side, we get x equals plus or minus 2i. So we get some imaginary solutions and some real solutions. Okay, so now on example A here, we're going to start by putting it in standard form. So we have x to the 4th minus 3x squared minus 4 equals 0. So now we're going to be factoring a quartic, which we've never done before. Factoring a quartic is just like factoring a quadratic. So you multiply your a and c coefficients, so that's just negative 4. Put your b coefficient in the bottom. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to make negative 4 and add to make negative 3. So negative 4 and 1. So our factors are, instead of x minus 4, it's x squared minus 4 and x squared plus 1. Using the zero product property, we can solve these. Adding 4 to both sides, and then take the square root, we get plus or minus 2. And on the second one, x squared plus 1 equals 0. Subtracting 1 gives us negative 1. Taking the square root, we get plus or minus I. Okay, so that's your introduction to solving polynomial equations by factoring. We will get into some more details in class.